Pat yourself on the back because you are right here, right now, for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live lives with more passion and purpose. How you doing this morning, Jared?
I'm good, dude. I've never been so excited to freeze and have snow than I was this week. Dude, just because of those fires and stuff and breathing smoke and having ash on us for like the last month and a half.
Yeah. Are they out? Do you know?
I was actually just reading it today that the snow actually insulates fire. So it puts out the flame, but underneath it's still hot. So they were worried that when the snow melts, if the winds come back, it could reignite parts of it.
What?
So it's not completely out, but it's much better than it was.
Dude, I don't know how any fire could survive what's going on right now.
Dude, fire's a fascinating thing. It creates its own weather.
It's
it's weird, yeah.
I almost froze to death just walking over here.
Well, that's because it's negative 13.
Negative 13. That's insane.
You know what? That's one thing I wish we could get away from is negative temperatures.
Why?
It makes no sense to me. Like, how does it get colder than zero? I think, like, once it hits zero, it's just zero. Like, you just have no temperature. Because, like, all the negative, it just makes you feel, right? You're negative. Like, and really, it all feels the same. When you're at zero, it's fucking cold. If you're I just don't understand how you get less than zero.
Talk to the Fahrenheit and Celsius guys, man.
Nah, I don't want to. I want to just adopt my rule. I think it's better.
There you go.
Because then it's always warm, right? Like, it's like, it's a couple degrees.
Just making you Jared degrees.
I'll just get to zero and stop. Like, I don't know why we go below zero.
Well, today it's that cold to where it's even below zero.
But if I just told you it was zero, it'd still feel cold.
Yeah, I guess so. I just walked out and was like, fuck, it's cold. I don't know what temperature it is. Then you told me negative 13. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I saw that in my truck. My truck did not want to drive in this morning.
I bet.
But, yeah, it was good stuff.
Nice. Well, I'm excited to share a little bit about a recent trip of mine. And I visited some Catholic monks. I didn't know that there was such a thing until one of my best friends, his name is Daniel Cantu, and he's private. Actually, he sent a letter to everybody that attended and asked that we don't post any photos that we took with him on social media. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to have to go and remove mine because I definitely posted
Dude,
up.
what if he's not allowed to be a monk because you revealed his identity?
Dude, well,
that would suck, huh?
Hope not, because I definitely threw up some photos. So
yeah, I looked at them.
By the time this show airs, I'll probably have them taken down. But it was an incredible experience, and I really want to get into some things that I noticed because I think that we can all benefit and value from analyzing a life that is so dedicated to a specific way of life. I mean, they live pretty much the same day every day. They have the same schedule. Boom, 5 a.m., they're already starting first prayer. I believe there's 7 or 8 different times of prayer throughout the day. They're all working all day, whether it's in the farm, in the garden, in the like the mechanic shop building things, or the little gift shop, because the church and stuff is open to the public and people can go visit the monastery. But yeah, man, I really want to share some of this monk stuff that.
And this was in a rural area.
Yes, this was in Oklahoma.
Dude, I would never, like, when I hear you talking about that, I would imagine that being in kind of an urban place.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe New York City, San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
But Oklahoma?
Yeah, outside of like an oil and gas town, too. Wagner, Oklahoma.
Huh. Yeah, I would never have pictured that.
Yeah.
Catholic monk. So, like, what is his job? Like, I know what priests do.
Mm-hmm.
What's a monk supposed to do in the Catholic religion?
Well, so this is what I gathered, is they have dedicated their lives to God, right? They have given up, they have vowed celibacy, vowed to live there at the monastery forever. and they believe that they are the sustainers of life, especially after things like wars, apocalypse, whatever it is, to where they're in these rural parts, right, to where no one ever find them. They have these sustainable communities, and they believe that they are sustainers of life. But also what they are doing is that they are putting out this good godly energy into the world every day with their powerful prayers, right? So they believe that what they're doing is putting out this good, energetic, positive frequency into the world because they're praying. And of course, from a quote unquote selfish standpoint, they also believe that because they have given up so much in this life, that they are going to have a better place, a better spot in the afterlife, that they will have their place with God, because they are working so hard and doing so much in this life to be as holy as possible. But before we get too much into that, because when you hear about people like this, at least for me, you kind of think, oh, well, they had to have some crazy religious upbringing or a different path than I did. But I kind of want to talk a little bit about my and Daniel's relationship growing up together.
Yeah.
Because it was normal. In fact, he was probably one of my highest energy friends to where you think I'm loud? This dude, you would hear him down Churchill High School hallways like, Ollie, what's up, man? We used to do this thing. He was really into bodybuilding, and we were wrestling team captains together. But every time he was really into anatomy, and he read Arnold Schwarzenegger's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding and knew all the body parts. Yeah. And we had this thing that anytime we'd get excited and see each other, we would do the bicep flex. So we'd be like, yeah, just like look at each other like this, like, yeah, and just flexing the bicep. And that was his thing. And he had just this super loud laugh and was a normal guy, man. I mean, we would go to high school parties together. We wrestled together. Obviously, we were athletes, and you never. I mean, I guess you can never guess that someone's going to go down that path, but especially for him, I always thought that he would be someone very involved out in the world because he's extremely extroverted, very loud. He loves people. And then come to find out, he is now extremely isolated. The monks in prayer and even during meals are completely silent. They don't look at each other. They don't look over at the church. It was funny because when I first got there, we went to sit in on one of the services before I got to see him, and all the monks are coming in. We'll have to put a video link or something.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's not allowed. I guess we'll put something out, but they would all come into this big church and bow to the altar there and get in their positions and stuff, and all his family and everyone were over here on the other side where all of the benches are for the public, and none of them looked up. And I was wondering, I'm like, I'm sure it must be so hard because he knows like all his family's up there, but didn't look up. Extremely disciplined. And even the first day when we got there, when we went to the cafeteria or meal hall, whatever they called it, he was on the other side, and they had him sit with his back towards us so he wouldn't be too tempted to look at us before the ceremony. And you eat in silence. Nobody talks. There's a guy. I could never find him. I don't know where he was because I was always, and I didn't want to be looking around, because everyone's kind of like just eating their food and being, I guess, being holy. And someone's reading Bible verses, and all you hear is like the scraping of the fork on the plates, and everyone's just eating. And
what'd they feed you?
Oh, some funky stuff. It was like this unleavened bread that you hear about in the Bible. This like kind of not the best bread ever. Bread. You have a thing of like water, juice if it's in the morning. They had this weird, what really stuck out to me that I've never had is like this weird, it was all like healthy, light, organic food. And they had this like egg scramble that was very strange, man. It's like they just were like, oh, that's healthy, and threw it together. It's like egg, some peppers, and some like shredded almonds or something, some kind of like nuts in there. Man, I'm trying to think of what else. not the tastiest food. It's
Did
not.
they have hot sauce for you? Because you hot sauce everything.
They did actually have with one meal they had some salsa that I got to use, so that was good. But other than that, it's not like they had little Tabasco bottles or anything.
Do you have one in your
Laying
pocket?
around. No, unfortunately
You didn't smuggle
not.
one in?
No, I did bring some food in because I was still on 75 hard phase 1, which today is the last day, by the way.
Nice.
Took a cold shower this morning when it's negative 13 out, so that was pretty intense.
That sucks.
But yeah, it was pretty amazing because when I first got there, Jared, I was like, dude, like I actually had a dream that evening that I objected to the ceremony and that I told like the older monks, like, no, like Daniel can't do this. He's meant to be out in the world. Like the guy's a rock star. He's so social. He's kind. He's an amazing listener. Like when you're talking, he's like, oh, and ask great questions. And he's just a rock star. And I was just like, dude, like somebody like this should not be isolated away. Like someone like this needs to be out in the world. And I was feeling that hard the first day of just like, dude, I don't know, man. Like how do I talk him out of it? I don't think this is right. But as I was there for 2 days, so as time progressed, I noticed that when the monks weren't in prayer or in meals and stuff, when they had a little bit of leisure time, everyone seemed really happy, smiling. It was a brotherhood, and it really made me think, like, how, because for me, all I could think of how boring that life could be, right? Of like, dude, you live here for the rest of your life, like. You wake up at 5 a.m. and you're just praying, and then you go work at whatever your thing is, whether you're a gardener or you take care of the livestock or, you're helping build one of the guest houses or whatever it is. And you eat your meals in silence. And then, your last prayer, I think of the evening, it's like 8:30, and then you're in bed by 9 and do it all over again. And I was just like, dude, what a boring life. Like, and just didn't really understand, didn't really understand.
I gotta ask though, like they do all that for the next life, but what if they're wrong? What if this is the life you get and you're supposed to enjoy this and live it? You know what I mean? Like, does that ever, because I'm not nearly as spiritual as you, and I definitely don't know as much about the Bible and stuff, but what if they're wrong? What if eating in silence and not looking at people and forgoing all the actual pleasures of and enjoyments of this life doesn't do anything for you? You know what I mean? Like that's
they're betting heavy.
They are. They're all in for sure.
Yeah, that's faith.
Yeah, I guess that's true, right? Faith is believing in stuff that you don't know for sure.
And I mean, they do have that. It's based on a lot of scripture. A lot of scripture, a lot of text, a lot of every service was all in Latin. So they all speak Latin, which is really cool. So they go beyond just reading the New Testament.
Yeah.
They're very well educated. I mean, what else are you going to do? They have a beautiful library. They have tons of books. So they're all very avid readers. But no doubt they're all in.
Books that are, because that's one of the questions I have for you, man, is are they allowed to challenge the ideas, or they just have to believe everything they're told? Because that's where I would have a lot. One, I wouldn't want to do a lot of what they're doing. Mm-hmm. But two, if you just told me, like, I am awful at just believing anything people tell me I have to believe. Mm-hmm. Like, I got to experience it myself. I got to research. I got to look into it. If you just tell me, like, even as a kid, if somebody just told me because, there's no way I was going to follow that rule. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like in the library, did you see any books that would contradict what they're told, or is it all like supporting documents?
They seem to be all supporting.
That's what I would guess.
And so when I went, this was after Daniel had spent 5 years there at the monastery. So that was after 5 years. That's when you get initiated in as a brother. So you kind of have that period of time, because there are guys that go there and, might spend a year, 2, 3, 4, and decide this isn't for me, or maybe
Yeah.
decide I
They
don't
can
believe in
leave?
this anymore. Yeah, you don't make your vows yet. So that's why I went. That's why Daniel's parents reached out to me, one of his best friends from high school, to family member, and it was cool because I met people from other parts of his life, right? Like one of his best friends in college that I had never met. We connected, and it was cool just to see like who showed up, because it's an interesting group of
Yeah.
people that shows up for a person who's making his vows as a Catholic monk. For me to, and I had to make a decision, right? I have a lot going on. I'm busy. It was a Tuesday and Wednesday, right in the middle of the work week, to go over there. But I was like, you know what? Like this, I love this guy. He used to be one of my best friends. We go way back. I haven't seen him in 7 years. This is a huge commitment, and I respect commitment, even if I don't agree with it. Like, respect to him. I don't fully understand all aspects of why he's doing what he's doing, but I understand enough to where I can respect it. And
You respect the discipline it takes to do what he's doing.
dude, I thought 75 hard was tough.
Yeah, that's 5 years.
Yeah, well, now the rest of his life. And in the small amount that I got to interact with him, I was like, so, was this and it was cool because I wasn't sure how he was going to be,
Yeah.
but as soon as he came, he's like, "Ollie, what's up?" And he was like, grabbing my arm. She's like, "Where you at? Where you at?" Like feeling on my arm, and it was just him. But I was like, dude, so I saw your schedule, because in my little monk dorm, they had the schedule for like, if you want to attend, like this is open, you can come to the 5 a.m. prayer, everything. And I was like, dude, I saw your schedule. So you're telling me this has been your life for the past 5 years? He's like, yeah. I was like, you haven't left the monastery? He's like, besides going to a sister monastery in New Mexico and a couple trips to the dentist, no. I was like, wow, like that.
Seems happy.
Yeah, seems very happy. So
Do they have a gym for him to work out?
no
How
gym.
are his biceps?
Not as strong as they once were, that's for sure. But everybody is lean. There wasn't one chubby monk.
No chubby monks.
Because they are efficient, man, with everything prayer to the meals to everything is just because you're doing it every single day. So
Well, you can't go back for seconds either, right? You get one meal.
You do, but it's like,
Are you allowed to say, "Hey, throw a little extra of that stuff on my plate"?
they kind of set out like a big plate or bowl of whatever it is, and you just serve yourself. So you can put a little more. At least for us, I didn't notice that the monks were like restricted in any way with the food. I think you can eat as much as you like.
So what is his purpose? So they just stay in Oklahoma forever. They're not gonna like send him out to try to convert other people or
He may
spread the
have
faith.
So I believe at 8 years, he was saying at 3 years later, he becomes an ordained priest. And at that point, he may be asked to go do some speaking engagements and stuff, and which I would love to see because he's a fantastic speaker. This guy's actually who introduced me to Toastmasters.
Oh, okay.
After we graduated high school, like his first year in college. And he was one of my most ambitious entrepreneurial friends. Would always talk about businesses. He had a couple of his small businesses during and after high school. And that's what we would always talk about. And kind of the path for him was that he started getting really, really, really deep into entrepreneurship and wealth, and really analyzing and studying some of the most wealthiest and most powerful people in the world. And he started going down this rabbit hole and shared a lot of things that are kind of popping up today.
Yeah.
Illuminati, pedophile rings, and all this, a lot of this conspiracy theory stuff that you're seeing today. He showed me something that I think one of the creepiest things he showed me was this thing. It's called the Georgia Guidestones.
Yeah.
It's this huge, like rock creation in this random city in Georgia, and it's inscribed in like 7 different languages. It says New World Order. And it said like New World Order, like the 10 requirements, like one was like 1 billion people, one unified world government, all this stuff. And essentially what he was finding out is that most of the most powerful people in the world, the Rothschild family, the Rockefeller family, all these powerful families that run the banks, are kind of inherently evil. And he went down this deep rabbit hole of like the only way to combat that is through God, and started getting really religious. He was traveling Europe and went to a lot of the churches there. I think he actually got denied acceptance into some sort of Catholic monastery in Europe, and then came back to the U.S. and was like, I want to dedicate my life to God. Like, how can I serve in the highest way? And that's the path he chose, becoming a monk.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess we all have our own paths, and I think it's good you accepted his and we're there for him. It's cool to hear that outside of when you got to interact, he felt like your normal friend.
Yeah.
Even after all that time.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Does he share like what his goals are or his ambitions with this going forward, or so he wants to become an ordained priest?
Yeah. Yeah, I need to ask him about that. We communicate through writing letters, and we hadn't exchanged letters in about a year. I had been pretty good about a couple letters per year for the first 4 years, and then I kind of fell off. He gave me a little heat about it. We were talking about discipline. He's like, speaking of discipline, man, I need you to stay disciplined on those letters so I can hear how you're doing. And
so they're literally just a throwback to old society. Mail, letters.
Oh yeah.
Self-contained.
They use Amazon Prime. I thought that was hilarious. I saw some
How do
Amazon.
they use Amazon Prime?
There's in the gift shop that's open to the public, there's a computer, but none of them have cell phones or like laptops or anything like that. But yeah, there has to be like an admin person who orders something, because I thought it was funny. I took a picture of that too, these monks carrying these Amazon boxes.
Dude, that's to me, that's like a conflict, right? Like Amazon has their own issues.
Right.
I don't know, dude. I don't understand it. I appreciate that people can do it, but I'm way too I don't know what the right word is. I just don't believe everything everybody tells me. And that's one of the reasons, like, for organized religion, quite honestly, I just kind of do my own thing is, one, I don't know if it's all true. Mm-hmm. And two, I've seen a lot of hate come from this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. A lot of isolation, or, this group against that group based off beliefs that are very, very similar that we just can't see past because we're so focused on our portion of it. And then obviously there's a lot of good.
Yeah.
There's both sides of it. It wouldn't be for me, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, me neither. And even Daniel's father was like, not the life for me, but I'm proud of him. That's what he chose. And I think what's interesting, Jared, is that it's not like this was really imposed on him. And even to become a brother, it's like you have to really want it, and they have to accept you. Like they can turn away anyone who's like, I want to be a brother of.
I wonder what their retention rate is, or their failure rate of their program. It's got to be high.
Yeah, no idea.
Huh.
But surprisingly, I feel like it was more young guys than old dudes. I would say more than half of the guys had to be 30 or under.
That surprises you? See, that I would think that would be their prime age. Would be like those early 20s when you're really out searching for yourself. But why does that surprise you? Why would you think it'd be older guys?
I just kind of thought, when I think of a monastery, I think of like old wise men, just a bunch of old dudes.
Yeah, but you got to teach the young ones before they get old.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't know that that many young people in our world would choose to.
Well, how many was there?
I think there's like 55.
Wow, that's way more than I thought. Mm-hmm. I thought for sure you were going to tell me like 12.
No, it's like 55 of them.
So I just have this vision, though, like monasteries and monks seem to always get overrun during violent times. Like when you watch back, like the Viking shows, like they pillage monasteries, all the rebellions. So was there, because they're very peaceful, right? That would be my concern, is like, am I just being so one-sided that like I'm not allowed to see danger, we're not allowed to fight back?
Yeah, I mean, if like 55 dudes roll up on them with some guns and, you know,
12 guys.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, there's not much they can do.
Because was there much security or anything?
No.
Yeah, see, that's that.
But it's so isolated that it's like it's hard to find. Like unless
that's true.
Unless you know where it's at. You know what I mean? There's not much around there. It's miles, several miles before you're like in a town. So they're definitely out on their doing their own thing. But one thing that I really wanted to share with the community that I noticed was that they were happy.
Yeah.
You know, that they all seemed genuinely happy. It wasn't like they were faking or going through the motions or putting a smile on. And it really led me to analyze, like, how could these dudes be happy with such a simple life? Like, they don't have anything to think about. And I came up, I'd love for the community to let us know what they think, and you too, Jared. But I came up with two pillars that we talk about here on the On Purpose podcast that I think really supported that level of happiness. And those two pillars are, one is that they have purpose. They have a clearly defined purpose. You know, they're there to serve God. They've made their vows. They're doing all their prayers for a very specific reason, and it's very clearly defined for them. And then number two, they have community. They're doing this every day with 54 other brothers that they're doing these tasks with every day. With us, you know, it's really rare to be that close with a community of people working towards a common goal. At the very most, you have, you know, most of us spend most of our time in life working, right? The 8 hours a day is more time than we put into any other individual thing. And most of our coworkers are not, we don't consider brothers, right? Half of them we don't like or love. And the common goal isn't as, for most companies and stuff, most employees don't have a clearly defined purpose for every task that they're doing. With them, they do. So that was something I thought was really interesting, and I think what contributes to that is purpose and community.
Yeah, and I would say a couple other things come to mind is, one, belief, right? Like they're believing in something bigger than them. So even for me, like not knowing where everything goes, as long as you believe in your process and you know you're working towards something bigger than you, you'll do the things that are uncomfortable. You'll wake up early, you'll sacrifice different things. And then consistency, which we've talked about so many times, right? Like they have a schedule, they consistently do things. So that takes, what's one of the nice things about being consistent, it takes the pressure off of what am I going to do tomorrow? Mm-hmm. Because you know what you're going to do tomorrow because you're consistently doing it, like 75 hard. Like, why do we see results when we do programs like that? Because it's consistent, day in, day out. And I think that's something we could take away from this kind of lifestyle, is that consistency. Mm-hmm. Because in our world, we're very quickly distracted, run to the next thing. A lot of times we don't see things through by showing up day in, day out for a long period of time. We want results so quick that we shortchange ourselves. Mm-hmm. Just think about if he'd, it took him 5 years to get to this point. You know, if he took every fourth Thursday off, well, over 5 years, every fourth Thursday, that's 4 days a month. It's 48 days a year. For 5 years, that's 200 days.
Yeah.
He's basically behind a whole year by taking 1 day off a week.
Yeah, dang, that's wild.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what, so to me, that's what I hear, is that just that consistency and that belief in something bigger than you is what drives people forward. Yeah. And I think we can all learn from that, whether you agree with the beliefs or not. You got to find your own beliefs, and that's what they've done, or what he's done at least.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. No matter what path you're on, those same principles apply of consistency, having purpose in what you're doing, and surrounding yourself with people, building a community around you to support that. Because we were thinking, another conversation we had, I thought it was interesting that they had a little confession area. And I was joking with some of the guys that were like, dude, what the hell could monks possibly confess to?
Yeah.
You know, like taking thirds at the, because
Right.
they are already in an environment that is set up for them to succeed in what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like they got a strip club up the road, or,
Right.
you know, that they're selling alcohol in the gift shop, or their environment, they've removed all temptation for quote unquote sin, for anything that goes against what their path is. And they are set up to succeed in the lifestyle that they want. So I think that aside with community is environment too. They have their robes, their rooms, their everything. So it's another takeaway too, is that we all have our own paths, right? Like this path may be far from what we want. You know, like I know that I don't want my life to be the life of a monk, but I respect it, and I can see how their principles can apply to anything that I'm doing with my life.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I'm glad you were able to get out there with him. I look forward to maybe having Daniel on the podcast someday, and we can ask him some of these tough questions.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
You know, maybe once he's ordained, and because we actually have one of the students at the gym, their son is the head Catholic priest up in Wyoming.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's like the path he's on, but definitely be interested to hear his views on things.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And last takeaway I want to leave our community with is that there are lots of people in the world who are dedicated to discipline and goodness. You know, and I think that it's important for us to remember that for every negative, horrible, bad thing that we see in the media or even in the world, there is something equally positive and good happening as well. And it may be in the places you least expect it, like rural Oklahoma. Just keep that in mind.
I love it. Good. How are we going to close these out now? I forget.
Maybe you saying the same thing, like the fee and...
Oh, yeah. All right. So thank you all for being here with us this week. And if you want to go further and support the podcast, we'd greatly appreciate it. You can join us on Patreon. We have several different levels available. So if you're getting anything out of this, like Ali says, if you're getting 50 cents of value a month per episode, there's a place for you to come on, contribute, and help us keep this thing going and growing. We appreciate you guys being part of our community. And let us know, what do you think about purpose, belief, community, and consistency? How do you feel on that, getting you where you want to go? And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.